Hard topic today.
Yes, a very hard topic to talk about.
So, we are going to talk today about racial tension and how we believe empathy can help cure racial tension.
We truly feel that empathy is something that can really, to the root of it, start to help the racial tension in the communities we live in.
So, if this is on in your car and you've got your kids there, we're not going to say bad words, but there's going to be some hard topics covered. There's going to be some stories that are more challenging to talk about. So go ahead and pause this one, go to the last one, or however you want to do it, or use it as an opportunity to talk to your older kids. Help to open those lines so that they can better understand racial tension in the United States. Listen in. Hi, I'm Alana Mizell.
And I'm her better half, Stephen Mizell. And this is the Mizell Show,
where we take our regular life moments, transforming them into motivation.
helping you crush your goals and leave a little bit more inspired.
Join us for the Mizell Show.
Right now.
Okay, so something that is super important to Stephen and I. Stephen's black, I'm white. If you didn't know that, that's huge. Racial tension is huge. So is empathy. What is empathy?
I mean, I don't know what empathy is. I mean, I think my personal definition, I mean, I can't give you the Webster, but when I hear the word empathy, I feel, I guess I can't, you can't answer empathy with feel. Empathy is a feeling. It's just being, you can't answer empathy with compassion.
No, so Simon Sinek, actually, we love Simon Sinek.
He's a dude. I like Simon Sinek.
At some sort of conference or something, back when people could go to conferences, he explained empathy and no empathy this way. So imagine that you're a salesman, and you've been down in sales 3 quarters in a row.
Okay.
As a salesperson, you know when you've missed your goals 3 months in a row.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're closing out the 4th month. And so you know that you've got to end it strong, kind of thing. So your boss walks in and goes, hey, you've been down 3 months in a row. Get it together. You know, if you don't get it together this month, we're going to have ramifications, right?
Yeah.
No empathy. Cold. Right? And that's kind of an extreme. But even if they said, hey, you've been down 3 months in a row. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But what about if you walked in and you said, hey, what's going on? I noticed that you've been down 3 months in a row, but are you okay?
Yeah.
The are you okay is empathy. And I want to kind of dig in too far because we're going to kind of unpack that. But it's the genuine caring about another person and the development of them as a human being.
Yes, I think that is spot on. And again, it goes back to how you address something, your tone, your body language. There's so many things that come into effect. Because I think your explanation is perfect. Yeah. In which it kind of gives you a visualization. That's the word.
A visualization.
Visualization. Yeah. Of that. I think you're right. It's spot on.
Yeah. So
I think we bring that up based on everything that we've seen in this past year with the two words, racial tension. So what is racial tension?
Which I find it interesting that you said in the past year.
Well,
so as a black man, you said in the past year, whereas as your wife for nearing on 8 years, I'm like, it wasn't just this year that racial tension started.
Yeah, it's not just this year that it just started, but I think this year, again, we've talked about this numerous times with numerous people. Is you can't put your blinders on and can't say COVID has caused more awareness or you've seen more in terms of the racial tension because you are more tuned in to the Twitters, the social medias, the TV, in which racial tension, yes, it's always been there, but it's also been fogged by so many other things that are going on. So you kind of say, oh, this happened, but it's a 3-day news cycle. But now with everything that we've been going through, it just kind of has put it at a heightened sense, I guess you could say. But yes, I agree with you. Racial tension has been going on for forever. I mean, for a long time. and it's still there.
So what is racial tension?
I mean, my definition of racial tension is I truly feel it's people from the opposite race not being educated on that person's history, background, story, journey, and assuming. I think racial tension is driven by the assumption of that person's race.
Okay, so can you have racial tension within your own race?
Yes, 100%.
Explain.
Because, I mean, for instance, I was blessed to grow up in a blue-collar family. My parents worked very hard to provide for us. Now, there were months in which I saw them struggling, but months in which it was beautiful. And now in the industry I'm in, I see players come from walks of life I've never seen or experienced.
Yeah.
And so in talking to them or them talking to me, there is tension sometimes because they think, I hate to say it, this dude is a square. He doesn't know where I'm coming from.
Right.
And then me, I can never put my shoes in some of these. I can't put my feet in some of these kids' shoes. Like I've never have experienced that. And so there's that tension of he can't help me out. He doesn't care because he doesn't know.
But that's where empathy comes in.
So empathy comes in.
Which
Exactly.
We're not going to unpack that just yet. We're going to hone in a little bit.
But that's a
on
great
racial
question.
tension.
Yes.
So another thing that I do want to bring up is if you've never seen a photograph of us, and you not listened to previous episodes where we've talked about we are an interracial couple. Mm-hmm. And then you heard me say Steven's black and I'm white. There are some people that will be shocked by the fact that you're black.
Yeah.
Based off of your voice.
Based on my voice.
That is racial tension.
That is racial tension.
The assumption that because Steven's color of his skin is darker complected than mine, that he should have a different dialect than I do is racial tension.
Yes. And it's prevalent. And again, now with everything going on, not just COVID, I think also just the fact of like everybody having a cell phone, people can record things, people can tweet instantly about something happened. It just brings it even more to the forefront that it's tension. And like you said, there's tension with whites and whites. I mean, every race, it doesn't have to be a black and white thing. It's a thing in which, again, it goes back to...
It's almost a stereotype tension.
Yeah.
It's these judgments that our culture has put on a different type of person because they are less than somebody else, in which has caused us to judge one another.
Yes.
So, we got a couple of stories for you.
I mean, I think the one story, we always pull our podcasts or our conversations from things that we see, that we hear, and we talk about to bring it to life. And, just this past week, everybody's voting. Well, we hope everybody.
Well, by the time that this goes live, voting will be done.
Oh, yeah.
This is during early voting that we are recording this.
Yeah.
So, all that to say, we're in line at early voting. And one of our dear friends is not from here.
It's not from here. And let's paint even more of a backstory. As you know, early voting is not for everybody. The most people that go to early voting are the ones who legitimately want to have their voice being heard, and they are diligent about finding where to go vote.
Right. So, not only that, but early voters are also typically people that they can't make it on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or they want to make sure that their vote is in just in case something comes up on that Tuesday.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's also, I'm going to clip my throat. We'll edit that out. But also you think about it from a standpoint of they get out there because they want to do it. They have
there's a burning desire.
Exactly.
So we are in line at early voting.
One more thing. Where's the early voting place at? It's like in the east. It's in a suburban area.
It is in a suburban area. It's not in an urban community.
Exactly. And then again, it goes back to where are the early voting things usually?
Yeah. Rarely are early voting locations in an area where the marginalized and minority can get there to early vote. Which is
Yes.
weird because the marginalized and minority are also typically those of which who ride the public transportation system.
Yeah.
They are not those like myself and like Stephen who have access to vehicles to where they could drive to early vote.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better fitting for the marginalized and minorities to have a local community near them so they can walk their happy butts on down to early vote?
Exactly. I mean, again, it goes back to
But that's
what people call
soapbox.
suppression. Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
That's voter suppression, folks.
Exactly.
That is voter suppression.
But that's why I wanted to just also give you guys even more clearer picture. Like, we're early voting.
Right. So we are
and we're
at a historically conservative church.
Yes.
Is where this is. So typically, the people that are aiding to help in the voter whatever that's called, like voter registration, it's not that.
Who are the voter helpers? What are they called? Like,
I don't know. I should know what that is, but I don't.
the people that help at the voting
People that-
stations.
They typically are from the conservative church, which is fine.
or that neighborhood. They're vested
They
in
are
that. Yeah.
from that neighborhood.
Exactly.
Because they don't want to drive too far to their early voting location to help out, which I am so grateful that they do that. Early voting is so important. Anyway, we are in line. And our dear friend is not from Memphis, Tennessee. He is from a different southern state. I don't want to mention his state because I don't want people to be like, oh, well, this is such and such a state.
He's from a different state.
He's from a different southern state.
urban city. And he's been here for less than 6 months, moved here, but he decided he wanted to vote in Shelby County.
Shelby County is where Memphis is.
Yeah.
So his license hasn't been changed because why would he change his license to the state of Tennessee?
But he took the time to register
But
to
he
vote.
did take the time to register to vote. And he had his actual printed copy of his voter registration and brought 2 pieces of mailing proving that he lived in Shelby County.
In the house where the voter registration card came from.
Mind you, all I brought as a white female was Briggs, my son, and
Driver's license.
my driver's license, which is from Tennessee. But
And for most states, early voting, you only need that driver's license.
right,
but
because you've registered.
He's registered, yeah.
So he's in line.
We're in line.
We're right near him, and he's informed he cannot vote.
A worker goes through the line and says, hey, make sure you have XYZ. And she really only said, make sure you have your ID. Well, like most people, he asked the question, well, I don't have an ID because I'm not from here.
No. He has a driver's license.
It is a
It's
Tennessee,
not a
yeah.
Tennessee
Tennessee
driver's
yeah,
license.
exactly.
And we're talking about a federal election,
Yes.
not a local election, a federal election.
Yes.
Okay. Then she proceeds, you can't vote today. You just can't vote today. And he, of course, challenged her. Well, I have this documentation saying that I'm registered to vote in Shelby County. You know, they approved it, all the things. And so then she chooses to go inside and get a poster size list of the rules and regulations to early vote in the state of Tennessee, in which it states that you have to have a driver's license, a Tennessee driver's license. Okay.
Yes.
So here's where racial tension and empathy come in.
Did you know that I sell makeup? Not only do I sell makeup, but the makeup that I sell is 3D makeup, which allows you to highlight and contour your face in a super simple compact. As a mom, I could not survive without my simplified routine. Not only that, but it's exactly what you need. Exactly when you need it, all in one spot. Go ahead and check out Alana Mizell on Instagram or alanamizell.com to learn more.
When it was happening, all of us stayed somewhat quiet. So we were I was with 3 black males, myself as a white woman, and my mixed 1.5-year-old
Yes.
who was running around playing with rocks. Anyway, so we all just kind of kept our mouths shut.
We did. I mean, and I think one of the biggest things around that is, again, it goes back to empathy, in which he asked the question, well, why? Why not? And he asked the question of, can I have this? And every time it was a very aggressive no.
It was a very abrasive
That's what I'm looking for.
response in which felt like she was insinuating that he was not as intelligent as she was. And all he asked for was then, hey, can I please speak to a manager who may know more rules and regulations around kind of one-off scenarios. I don't remember his exact verbiage, but he stayed very calm.
Stay very calm.
So we go in to vote. Guess who got to vote? He got to vote because he had all of his documentation. Luckily, he got a person who was super willing and wanted him to vote.
And wanted to have the conversation with him. And the thing about it is, in that situation, it goes back to what we said earlier. There's so many different ways to suppress votes.
Right.
That situation right there, he's in his early 30s. And so at that age point where you've kind of maybe have gone through this before in terms of the racial tension and the frustration, most people in his situation would have just left.
They would have
been like,
They
okay,
would not have stayed in that line. They would have said, I'll go to a different early voting spot, because he cannot go on the Tuesday of the election.
based on his work. You can't do it.
Based on his work. He can't do it. So to many people, that wouldn't have felt like racial tension. But as soon as we left, we all were done voting. As soon as we left, I looked at Stephen and I said, that had nothing to do with him being able to vote or not. It had everything to do with him being a black man.
Oh, yes.
And every person around us knew that, which is terrifying.
And the thing about it is, in front of us was a older Caucasian couple, and behind us was an older African-American woman, and they were able to see that, like, firsthand at the end of the day.
So let's play this out. Let's play a little bit of devil's advocate kind of going on. So here's what we don't know about this woman. We don't know if she had a different abrasive person the day before that had an out-of-state license.
You don't know that.
We don't know that. Or years prior. We don't know if she just had a really bad morning. Because let's get real. If you have a bad morning, you spill your coffee, you got a flat tire, whatever it might be.
It boils into everything.
I mean, it's just, your ticking time bomb is already going off.
We also don't know if she's just that abrasive and doesn't want to help anybody.
Right.
We didn't see her interact with anybody else.
Right. So, racial tension aside, that's an issue. How it should have been approached is vastly different. From a customer service standpoint, that is vastly different.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about empathy, helping to cure racial tension, what should have happened is a person, no matter the color of the voter or how you think they are going to vote, coming alongside and saying, I'm so sorry, sir. You were given wrong information. Let me double check and make sure.
Yes.
Versus going to grab a poster
Yes.
and marginalize.
You grab the poster and marginalize. And the thing about it is also is the fact that, like, we're not rushing in for a heart surgery. Pulling him out and then walking him to talk to a supervisor, that's a lot of empathy. But as I said, doing the little things
Bring the
like
supervisor to him.
Yeah.
Or say, yes, sir, when you get to the front of the line, I will point you to the supervisor.
And I think that's something that lacks so much in our society. It's just a simple thing of being empathy. And empathy is a learned trait. If you see this, and we see it a lot with our children, and you do a good job of this, of showing Briggs or showing Adele, hey, let's go over and beyond. Like, if he does something to Adele, you force them to talk to each other to say, how are you feeling that I've done that? And it's something that is not taught. And again, I know with everything we see nowadays, you only see the worst of it, but it's something that, again, empathy, I truly feel, can help racial tension.
Yeah.
If we as humans remember, I posted this on Twitter the other day, you know the right thing to do. Like, you...
Okay,
Yeah.
but do you?
True.
So we just talked about
yeah.
empathy being learned.
Yeah.
What if they were never taught?
That's true.
Or what if they have been through a traumatic experience in which somebody of a different race or different socioeconomic status has changed the narrative in which they live their lives?
You're right. That's heavy. You're right.
What if, hypothetically speaking, we'll dig into some of these things later as well. What if, hypothetically speaking, a young white girl ends up getting sexually assaulted by a black man? How could that narrative change her father's or her perspective on the black community?
Yeah, he's going to change it dramatically.
Right.
Yeah.
And wouldn't necessarily have changed it dramatically if the young man were white. He would have been more singled out. They wouldn't have then marginalized all white men.
That's true.
Because then that would mean that she was marginalizing her father.
That's very true.
So it's also
yeah.
relative of who you know and how you were raised. So if you have a community or a dining table or functions in which your children in their village have a community in which they have a father figure or an uncle figure, and that is a different race or maybe even socioeconomic status, I can almost guarantee their empathy is going to be further towards different races.
Yeah.
Because they know, they look into those eyes of that person and they see their loved one.
Yeah.
They will give more grace because they know somebody.
Yeah.
I fully believe that.
No, that's so true. But yeah, it's an ongoing conversation we
Yeah.
will continue to have. And in terms of empathy, it's just something that you hear that word all the time. Well, you used to
Yeah.
hear that word all the time, but now more than ever, it's needed. And like you said earlier, just going the extra mile if you know how to
Yeah.
just show compassion and empathy towards.
That and ask the questions. If you have,
Alana is phenomenal at asking the questions. She's really good at
I
it.
can ask questions all day long. Absolutely fearless about asking questions. But if you have a friend or if you want to reach out to us and ask questions about, what does that look like to have biracial children? What does that look like to be going through the dating process, dating a black man, which we will talk about more. I have had somebody stop me and ask me where I got my kids from. Let me just say that one more time. I've had somebody stop me, a white woman, and ask me where I got my 2 biracial kids from. My response, because I'm a little bold.
Did you say Raymond Reddington?
No, I said from my uterus, thank you.
Oh, whoa.
And kept it moving.
There you go.
But if I did not have such a strong backbone, that could have wrecked somebody.
Yes.
We don't know still to this day if that person was personally struggling with infertility, or maybe their good friend was about to adopt, or maybe she thought I was a foster parent. I don't know. There are other ways from an empathetic standpoint on both ends that the situation could have gone differently. Right? So it's all about how you ask those questions. It's all about thinking, this is a human being first, and the color of their skin second. Note that I did not say you're colorblind. Please stop saying you're colorblind, because if you are, then you are equally marginalizing those colors that have culture. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
It is.
That's a serious topic in our lives. But think about how you're asking the question as if it is one of your loved ones that you are trying to learn more about, or one of your best friends or one of your new coworkers that you're genuinely trying to learn more about, which will give you the empathy, which can help break the lines of racial injustice.
I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, I got nothing to co-sign on that one, but I do truly feel hopeful and have so much. I feel empathy is something that we as humans, as people, if we could just show more empathy, I feel it could really help with the racial tensions across every walk of life, from the social, economic to the race, like all of that. And if you are struggling with that and you want to talk to someone about it, we are here 100% of the time to help you out. And it's so many different avenues to be able just to have the conversations. And Alana says, ask the question, but also when you ask the question, think about your response. Think about where that person might be going sometimes with that question, and there could be empathy in your response.
But also listen.
Oh, yes.
That is one of the biggest things with racial tension.
You have an answer before you even...
Right.
Yeah.
People are too busy asking all their questions that are on their piece of paper, and they're already trying to respond to the person without actually listening to where they're coming from.
Yep.
And I'm going to be bold and say this, but white people need to ask the question, then close your mouth and actually listen. Just like Steven said, there are players that he will never be able to step into their shoes. I will never be able to step into the shoes of my husband or my kids. But guess what? I ask the question, then be quiet and listen. That is empathy. Actually listening and changing your narrative for the next time you encounter it is empathy that will lower the racial tension. So racial tension and empathy are hard. They are hard to talk about, but as we start having those conversations, you guys, I promise they're going to get easier. And if you have enjoyed this podcast or the ones previous, please, please, please just comment a review. We greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you screenshot this podcast, share it to your Instagram, and be sure to tag us at The Mizell Show on Instagram. You can always go to www.themizellshow.com. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram @themizellshow.